What would you do if everything you believed about your father turned out to be a lie? For 25 years, I thought I knew my story. I knew who my father was. I knew why he wasn't around much. I knew the version my mother repeated every time I asked questions. He's not a good man. Some people are better loved from a distance. And I believed her. My mother raised me alone in a small but decent apartment. She was strict, hardworking, and deeply protective. The kind of woman who didn't explain much but expected obedience. Growing up, I never lacked food or school fees, but I lacked answers. Anytime I asked about my father, her face hardened. Drop it, she would say. Some doors are better left closed. So I stopped asking. Or at least I pretended to. As I got older, the questions grew louder. Why did my birth certificate look strange? Why did relatives go quiet whenever his name came up? Why did my mother panic the one time I suggested a DNA test for fun? The truth came on an ordinary evening. I wasn't searching for secrets. I was just looking for old documents in her wardrobe. That's when I found a brown envelope hidden beneath folded clothes. Inside was a photograph. A man I had never seen before, standing beside my mother and holding me as a baby. Before we continue, kindly like, comment, share, and subscribe. It motivates me. Also tell me in the comments where you are watching from. I stared at the picture for a long time. This man wasn't angry, he wasn't distant, he was smiling. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. The story I grew up with was missing a very important chapter. I didn't confront her immediately. I folded the photograph back into the envelope and returned everything exactly the way I found it. My hands were shaking, but my mind was racing faster. That night at dinner, I watched my mother closely. The same woman who had raised me, the same voice that told me right from wrong, the same eyes that avoided mine whenever my father's name came close to the conversation. I asked casually, "Ma, where did you keep my baby pictures?" Her spoon paused mid-air. "In the old box," she said quickly, too quickly. I nodded and said nothing, but something inside me cracked open. Over the next few days, I started noticing things I had ignored for years. How she changed the subject when relatives visited, how phone calls ended abruptly whenever certain names were mentioned, how fear lived just beneath her calm. One evening, I finally asked, "Why does my birth certificate look different from others?" She didn't answer. She stood up, cleared the table, and washed dishes in silence. The sound of plates clinking against the sink felt louder than her voice. When she finally spoke, her back was still turned. "You ask too many questions," she said. "Some answers don't bring peace." That was the moment I realized something painful. This wasn't forgetfulness, this wasn't protection, this was control. Later that night, I texted my aunt, the one person my mother never fully trusted. I sent her the photo. Her reply came after a long pause. "Where did you find this?" I typed back, "Who is he?" Another pause. Then the message that changed everything. "Your mother promised she would never tell you." I stared at my phone. My chest felt tight. For the first time in my life, I understood that the truth about my father wasn't lost. It was hidden, and my mother had been guarding it for 25 years. I didn't sleep that night. My aunt's message kept replaying in my head like a warning bell I couldn't silence. "Your mother promised she would never tell you." Promised who? The next morning, I skipped work and went to my aunt's place. I didn't call ahead. I didn't want her preparing lies. When she opened the door and saw my face, she sighed deeply and stepped aside. "So she didn't tell you," she said. Inside, the house smelled like old furniture and memories. We sat opposite each other. She kept rubbing her palms together, avoiding my eyes. "Who is he?" I asked, quietly. She hesitated, then stood up and brought out a small box. Inside were letters, old ones, faded envelopes with dates from before I was born. She handed me one. It was addressed to my mother. The handwriting was careful, gentle. "I just want to see my son. I'm not trying to cause trouble. Please let me explain." My chest tightened. "He didn't abandon you," my aunt finally said. "He was pushed away." I shook my head. "That's not what my mother said." My aunt nodded slowly. "She was angry, hurt, afraid. And when people are all three, they make decisions that feel right at the time." "Where is he now?" I asked. She didn't answer immediately. Then she said something that made my heart drop. "He tried to come back." That evening, I confronted my mother. I placed the letters on the table between us. She stared at them for a long time. Her hand trembled slightly. "You went behind my back," she whispered. "No," I said. "You went behind my life." For the first time, she didn't shout. She didn't deny. She just sat down slowly. and I knew the final truth was coming. My mother didn't speak for a long time. She stared at the letters like they were evidence from a trial she had already lost. When she finally looked up, her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. "He loved you," she said quietly. That was the problem. She told me everything. How my father was young, ambitious, and stubborn. How their relationship fell apart during a period of poverty and pressure. How one argument turned into separation. And how pride made reconciliation feel impossible. He wanted to be involved, she admitted, but I didn't want him to come back on his terms. She explained how she convinced herself she was protecting me, how every year that passed made the lie harder to undo, how fear slowly replaced anger. "I was scared you would choose him," she whispered, "and leave me." The room went silent. "Where is he now?" I asked. She hesitated. Then she said the words that shattered what was left of me. "He died 3 years ago." I sat down slowly. All those years, all those questions, all those chances, gone. She told me he used to send money anonymously, that he attended my school events from a distance, that once he stood outside our building for hours, but left when he saw another man walk in with groceries. "I thought I was being strong," she said. "I was just being afraid." That night I went through the box again. At the bottom was a final letter. "If you ever let him read this, tell him I never stopped trying." I cried for the father I never met, and for the mother who carried a secret too heavy for one heart. I forgave her, not because it was easy, but because holding anger wouldn't bring him back. Some truths come late, but they still deserve to be heard. If this story touched you, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps this channel grow and allows more stories like this to be told. Do you think my mother was protecting me or protecting herself? Tell me your thoughts, and also let me know where you're watching from. Tell me in the comment section.